I looked at was, I started looking around, and most people know the power of life insurance, right? Don't like it, but I want to make sure if something happens to me, my family's taken care of. But what if you live? And here's what's crazy. The number one fear amongst baby boomers is not death. Death is a far number two, way down the list, number two percentage-wise. Number one is running out of money before they die, having a life where they don't have income. And it's going to happen, according to all the statistics, to about 75% of the population, right? It's mind-boggling. So what do I do without any income? That's why you see people now in their 70s as greeters at Walmart. You know, it's just they got to figure out what to do because they never figured this stuff out in the beginning. So there is income insurance. Income insurance is old. It's a 2,000-year-old approach to making sure you have money. Julius Caesar was the first one who created it. And here's what it was. They created a pool of money where the guys...
Back then it was called annuitatum. When you served in the Roman army, you got an annuitatum, which today is called annuity.
The soldier's going to go out. And everybody put their money in, and it was held by the government. And whoever came back, they split up that pool of money over time with annual payments. So
annuity,
the word annuity that we all have heard, the word annuity is annual payments. Now you get annuities that pay you every month, but that process that's out there is one of the most successful opportunities for people to create an income. In other words, there's a stage in my life where you build, like you are. You're grow, and you're going up the mountain. You're saving, you're investing, and you're building it to a giant critical mass, to a jackpot. When you get to the top of the mountain, there's going to be a stage where you're not going to want to work. You probably will. Guys like you and I will always work. You don't have to work, and therefore you tend to work harder.
I couldn't imagine not doing it.
It's just like I couldn't either. Yeah. Steve Wynn's a dear friend of mine. He's 72 years old. He works harder now than any time I've known him. Just crazy. T. Boone Pickens is a friend of mine. He's 86.
Wow.
When he was 68, he retired. He's a billionaire. He's made more money after coming out of retirement in the last 15 years than he did in the first 68 years, and he's having the time of his life, right? But you want to know you don't have to work. So when you get to that peak where you have enough money, now you want to be able to ski down the mountain, enjoy your time with your family, do whatever you want to do, give your time, your energy, your capital, do whatever you want to do. That phase you need income for. And most people aren't planning for income. So you could be in a position where you built your assets up, your stock investments, your bonds, your real estate, and how fast can that drop by 50%, by 30%? We've seen it in every market.
About a nanosecond or
Ray Dalio,
day. Yeah,
Ray Dalio says point blank, he said, whatever you invest in, most people invest in something they feel is their favorite. They think they know something about it. So he said, you're a real estate guy, you put all your money in real estate. And then you put all your money in stocks, or you put it into commodities or whatever. He said, whatever investment you invest in, he said, mark my words, in your lifetime, there will be a day that category will go down 50 to 70%. He said, so the only way you protect against that is asset allocation, spreading out against many different baskets, not one. And the other way is you create an insurance policy that says, I'm guaranteed a certain income for life. So what you do is you take a percentage of your earning and you put it in an environment where it grows. And the only problem with that is, I heard annuities, and I was like, annuity maybe was the most negative word. It was like,
I know you think about some sleazy insurance sales.
Yeah, exactly right. So you associate to it. But here's what an annuity is. Bernanke.
Ben Bernanke, former Federal Reserve Chairman.
His top two investments were both annuities. Because I used to read these ads that say, they still market them. It says, what does it say? It says, I hate annuities and you should too. And of course you go to it and it's a guy that's selling you stocks, right? And he says, oh, annuities, they have all these fees. And he's right. There's tons of horrible annuities, just like there's tons of negative mutual funds. There's tons of people who got fees everywhere. They take it every year. And the annuity side, there's a commission paid to a guy. He gets paid once. So I want to be really clear. Annuities aren't a great product. Like mutual funds aren't a great product. The right annuity, the right investment is the right one. And that means you've got to be able to strip out all the crazy fees. You got to know what you're getting. And for most people, that's complex. I'll give you a perfect example. A variable annuity, very popular annuity.
Directly up and down to the stock market.
It's fees on top of fees. It's fees to be inside of the annuity, and then there's fees for a mutual fund on
got
top
sub-accounts.
It's a disaster.
Yeah.
But there are types of annuities, like done properly, like these hybrid annuities, they call them.
Index annuities.
It's tied to an index, meaning a stock market index. So here's how it works. You get the upside without the downside. If the stock market goes up, you get a percentage of that growth. If it goes down, you lose nothing. So like you think about my friend who's been out of the stock market for 6 years and he's got nothing to show for it. I said to him, this would have been one of many different vehicles you could have easily done. And what's beautiful about these types of annuities, when it's the right company, you want a company that's got the right rating. You want a company, these insurance companies, the good ones have been around 100 years, 200 years. They've been around since recessions, depressions, the 2008, and nothing's hit them. They're that strong. They've been around. That's all they do.
Listen, I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins. When I first came out the military, first tapes I listened to, I said that word, didn't I? I said tapes. His whole first Unleash the Power Within tapes. And then went to his Firewalker seminar. And 3 days, three and a half, 4 days, just absolute energy, life-changing. Tony Robbins is the man. And it wasn't until years ago, just a few years ago, that he actually came out with 2 books. Money in Mastering the Game and Unshakable. You know, when you're looking at these 2 books, all the personal development books he's ever written, he finally came out with now 2 books on personal finance. And I was always interested in Tony's business model because he obviously he's an entrepreneur outside of personal development guy. Obviously, he's a product of what he's coaching, which is entrepreneurs and high-level performers and executives. And I noticed on the back of his book, it's got about 12 different companies he has. Okay, got 12 different companies, and these companies are the Tony Robbins companies. And I noticed that a good chunk of these 12 companies are related to financial services now. Stronghold Wealth Management. You got Freedom Equity Group. I'm very familiar with them. They're constantly recruiting me. Matt Newman over there. What's up, Matt? One point, he's constantly recruiting me to come over to do my annuity business with Advisors Excel. America's Best 401k, My Power CFOs, all on the back of his book. So Tony's invested in either owner or partner or licensing his name to financial services companies because I remember talking to a life coach. Obviously, Tony's a life coach. And she says, the problem with me being a life coach is that when I'm talking to somebody about improving their life, I got to coach them with an eye patch on. So why is that? What's with the eye patch? There's an area of their life I cannot coach them, which is their finances. I don't know how to coach finances. So therefore, I'm coaching people about their emotional, their mental, their career, the business, but when it comes to money, they're like this. And so when I got invited to speak at the International Coaching Conference in Vegas one year as a financial coach, connected with the certified financial coaches up in Colorado Springs, a large organization, learned from a brain doctor about where the areas in our brain stop making decisions based on the trigger points that happen in our physiology. But these things that Tony's talking about and the annuities are certain things. I think that's Frank Kern that's in this as well, a marketing genius. But it's sad that in the financial services industry, you're going to find 2 worlds at war. Wall Street, that's stock market, the stock jocks, stocks, bonds, and mutual funds guys, and Main Street, which is the insurance guys. And they're constantly at war. Well, more so the stock market guys, because the insurance guys in Main Street can provide something to the clients that the stock market guys cannot, which is what? Safety, guarantees, peace of mind. When you get your money inside Wall Street, securities, investments, listen, I'm not a registered investment advisor. I'm not giving you financial advice, just as information and for your information education uses only. But when you're talking to a lot of guys in Wall Street, and I used to be a Series 6 guy, Series 63 guy, Series 26 guy. I was in Office of Supervisory Jurisdiction. So I know the conversations you can have with clients as it relates to money and the things that you can't say. But here's what I do know. The reason why I wrote the book, 5 Gotchas of Money, is because one of the gotchas of money, which is the first one, which is losses, is what I experienced when I first entered the financial services industry, which is when I entered in 1999. So everything run up, the bull market, next thing you know, the dot-com bubble hit everybody and hurt everybody. And so what didn't go down was index annuities. What didn't go down was whole life. What didn't go down was universal life. What didn't go down was fixed annuities. And so I'm looking at whatever it is, forget what you call it. I was looking at what it does. And when I realized that my business was up and down as a financial advisor, Series 6 with stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and variable annuities that Tony Robbins talked about, I said, I want to remove that from my business because my business turned into a headache. Because clients didn't understand that losses are a part of the investment journey. But tell that to somebody who's retired at 65 or 70 years old, and they retired, next thing you know, the stock market goes like this, like it did in 2022 for some people, negative 25% loss in the S&P 500. Imagine having $1 million and something happens to the stock market, China, tariffs, pandemic, whatever the case may be, nothing of your control. And you lose $250,000 because of powers that be outside of your control affect your retirement account, your ability to be financially safe and financially secure. What removes all that are annuities. And the argument about stocks versus annuities, mutual funds, managed accounts versus annuities, the conversation these guys would have, the cutthroat world that they live in, disserves the client and causes nothing more than confusion. Why? Because they're just competing for business. Instead of educating and informing a client, listen, everybody knows if you put your money in a stock, bond, mutual fund, crypto, real estate, you have a potential to lose. But if you put money inside an annuity, what do you lose? Oh man, there's horrendous fees. Fees what? There is no fees inside index annuities unless, of course, you are talking about the surrender charges. And the surrender charges only are there when you surrender the policy or you take out more than the 10% annual amount allowed inside most annuity contracts. And if you take out 20% above the 10% that's free, that you can freely take out of your annuity, then you pay the surrender charges on the 10%, not the 20%. So there's a lot of misguidance and annuities out there. You got people like Ken Fisher, takes out a whole ad in the Wall Street Journal. Do not buy annuities, biggest scam in the world. Listen, last time I checked, when the stock market crashed in 2007 through 9, the Great Recession, what banker went to jail? When people lost millions and billions of dollars in their pensions and 401k plans, who went to jail? Who was held accountable? Here's the answer: nobody. But you and I, the American people, we had a bailout plan, troubled asset, what do you call it, the troubled assets, TARP, Troubled Assets Relief Program, 0809, Obama. You and I, as taxpayers, had to bail out Wall Street, bail out the banks. Who's bailed you out? You know what's really bailed you out? Annuities have bailed you out. Annuities bailed out my mother. Annuities bailed out our family members. Why? Because they put their money inside an annuity. And if the stock market goes up and down, things happen in China, tariffs, Trump, Biden, don't care. Your money will not be affected because of the contractual guarantees offered by the guarantee paying ability of the life insurance companies that your annuities are with. Now, I'm not trying to tell you to put your money inside annuities, but you ought to take a strong look at what annuities have to offer. And it's not what you think. Stop focusing on what it is and focus more on what it does. Furthermore, we did a reaction video to Shaq on how he thought his greatest financial decision was putting his money where? Inside an annuity. Because an annuity, once you put your money there, not only do you have peace of mind because your money's guaranteed never contraction, never to lose. You earn whatever you gain inside the policy, but if the stock market crashes next year, because your money isn't directly in the stock market, your money is not affected by what goes on the ups and downs of Wall Street. Insulated by the chief investment officers of every life insurance company out there and how they smartly put your money away. And by the way, you need to check out this video right here. I spent time with the chief investment officer and how smartly they have to steward over the $55 billion fund and portfolio it is a part of. They're not making wild decisions to put a $55 billion balance sheet that's been around for 170 years at risk, which is a privately held company. And so these are things that you need to process because annuities are areas that have been a safe haven for many, many, many people in America. It's not for everybody. It's not for all your money, but it's definitely a great place for you to put as a solid basis and solid financial foundation for what you had planned going forward. So therefore, you have systematic predictability and income no matter what happens in the economy. Now, some of you guys say, well, I don't like the return I'm getting paid on my annuity. Great. Then you need to make more money, stick more money inside the annuity. Because what the Wall Street guy is going to try to tell you, well, you don't put your money in there because you have no upside potential. Right. You have potential upside with a traditional investment. Yes. Again, this is not investment advice, but again, you have traditional upside potential. But guess what? When you have no ceiling, guess what you also have simultaneously? You've got no basement. Sometimes people would prefer to have a safe net in case the you-know-what hits the fan to make sure they can pay their mortgage, they can pay their rent, they can pay their caregivers, they can pay their electricity, their utilities, no matter what goes on in the economy, things that they do not control. What they can control is where they put their money. So therefore they have systematic income coming year in, year out, month in, month out for the rest of their lives. So that being said, highly recommend that you read Tony Robbins' books too as well. And if you want to process some more of the different areas that get you, the 5 gotcha money, because obviously losses is the first one. The second one is healthcare. Third one is taxation. Fourth one is inflation. The fifth one is procrastination that I talk about in my book, Gotcha. You can check it out too. We'll put the links here in the comment section below, or the description below, so you can pick it up and learn more about annuities. If you've been confused about annuities in the chatter that's out there, put it in the comment section below. I'll respond to those comments, and it might be appearing in a future video. To find out more information about faith, finance, taking control of your current finances, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel here at 7 Figure Squad, where faith and finance collide to allow you to see money in a much different way from a biblical, faith-based perspective. That being said, from Dallas, Texas, I'm your money smart guy, and until we meet again, continue to smart, continue to love smart, be money smart today.